I was sure I had a perfect marriage. Then one evening, I checked my credit card statement. I stumbled upon something that made my heart stop. It wasn't just a suspicious transaction. It was proof of a 3-year deception. It shattered everything I believed. My life felt like well-written code, logical, predictable, and without errors. I was 32, a programmer. Every day, I woke up next to my wife, Sarah. She was 30, an interior designer. Our home, bought 5 years ago, was her masterpiece. Bright walls, cozy furniture, lots of plants. Everything seemed perfect. I remember that morning like it was yesterday. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. I lay in bed while Sarah was already in the kitchen. I heard her humming a tune. I loved how she started her day. Always with a smile, always with a song. I got up and stretched. I went down to the kitchen. Sarah had already brewed the coffee. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and her favorite avocado toast. "Good morning, my love," she said, turning to me. Her eyes sparkled. "Good morning, Sarah," I replied, kissing her. In that moment, I was the happiest man, or so I thought. We sat at the table, eating breakfast. We talked about our plans for the day. "I need to finish a client presentation," Sarah said. "It'll be a long day." "I understand," I replied. "I have a lot of work today too, but I'm free tonight. Maybe we can order takeout?" She smiled. "Sounds great. I just don't know when I'll be done." I waved it off. "No problem. The main thing is we're together." We'd been together 7 years, married for 5. I trusted her completely. Sarah was my rock, my best friend, my everything. We made plans for the future, talked about having kids, traveling once the mortgage was paid off. That was our dream. Of course, we had minor arguments sometimes. Maybe I forgot something, or she was too focused on work. But these were small things. We always found common ground. I believed we could get through anything. We had the most important thing, honesty. Or so I thought. At work, I focused on my tasks. Programming was what I loved. Logic, structure, everything clear. I wanted the same in life. Clear rules, straightforward relationships. And I had it. Or so I thought. That evening, Sarah came home late. She looked exhausted. "Hi," she said, taking off her shoes. "I'm so drained." "I ordered pizza," I said, trying to hug her. She pulled back slightly. "Oh, I'm starving. Let's eat first." I didn't think much of it. I figured she was just tired, but something pricked at me, just a tiny bit. I pushed the thought away immediately. No need to overthink it. Everything was fine between us. Or so I thought. The next day, I met up with my old friend, Mike. We'd known each other since school. Mike worked as a sales manager, and he always had plenty of stories. We sat at our favorite cafe, drinking coffee. "How are things, David?" Mike asked. "Everything's great, as always," I replied. I really believed that. Mike sighed heavily. "Buying or not so great. Catherine." He paused. Catherine was his girlfriend. They'd been together for 2 years. "What happened?" I asked. She didn't tell me the truth," Mike said, looking down. "About where she was last weekend. She said she was with her sister. Then I found out that wasn't true." My heart sank a little. I remembered that thought about Sarah from yesterday, but I immediately pushed it away. That was Mike and Catherine. Sarah and I were different. "So what are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know," Mike replied. "I just can't understand why someone would lie. Trust, that's the most important thing, right? If there's no trust, what do you even have?" "You're right, Mike," I said, nodding. "Without honesty, nothing works. Relationships just fall apart. It's like a house's foundation. If it cracks, the whole house collapses. I always believed that." Mike looked up at me. "You're lucky, David. Sarah, she always seemed so reliable." I smiled. "She is. I trust her completely. It's the most valuable thing we have." At that moment, I was completely sure of my words. I couldn't imagine my own foundation was already at risk. That evening, I came home. Sarah was already there. She sat on the couch, watching TV. "How was your day?" I asked, sitting beside her. "The usual," she replied, not looking away. "Boring clients, lots of paperwork." I noticed she had become a bit more withdrawn lately. She used to tell me every detail of her day. Who said what, who did what. Now it was just vague phrases. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Yes, of course. Just tired." She turned to me, but her smile seemed forced. "How about you? Everything good?" "Yeah," I nodded. "I met with Mike." "Oh, Mike," she said, and I saw her eyes flicker away for a second. But they immediately returned to the screen. "He's having trouble with Catherine," I added. "She lied to him." Sarah frowned. "Well, that's bad. People should be honest with each other." Her words sounded so sincere, I immediately dismissed all my suspicions. She said it herself. Honesty. That's what she believed in. I was so blind. I didn't know her own words would become another blow to me. Days passed, one after another, blending into our usual routine. I worked, Sarah worked. We paid the mortgage, saved for the vacation we dreamed of. Life seemed to flow calmly, like a river without rapids. But small, barely noticeable ripples appeared in that river. Sarah started staying late at work more often. First, it was urgent projects, then unexpected meetings. I didn't think much of it. Her design work demanded a lot of energy. She often said, "David, this field is so competitive, you have to be the best." I believed her. "Will you be home late tonight?" I'd ask in the evenings. "Yes, honey," she'd reply over the phone. "I'm swamped here. Don't wait up for dinner." I'd cook for myself or order something. I felt a bit lonely, but I understood. Work is work. Her phone was always with her, and always face down. Before, it could be anywhere, but now it was only in her pocket or bag, or on the table, but always face down. One day I noticed it. "Why do you always put your phone like that?" I asked as we sat in the living room. She looked up at me. "Oh, I don't know. Habit, I guess, so the screen light doesn't bother me." I nodded. Logical. But something twinged inside me, very faintly. I brushed it off again. Then came the business trips, short ones, 1 or 2 days, to nearby towns. She said it was for work, new clients. I even drove her to the train station a couple of times. "Be careful there," I'd say, hugging her. Of course, she'd kiss me. "I'll miss you." I did miss her. The house felt empty without her, but I was proud of her success. I thought, she's doing great, striving for the best. My friend Mike, the one I'd talked to about Catherine, asked me one day, "David, hasn't Sarah changed?" "What do you mean?" I didn't understand. "Well, she's different. More withdrawn, perhaps. I thought about it. Maybe she's under a lot of stress at work right now. She gets tired. I see, Mike nodded, but his look was sympathetic. I thought so anyway. I remember one evening I tried to hug Sarah. She pulled away. What happened? I asked. Nothing, she said. Just a headache. My heart sank. She used to be so affectionate. I thought, maybe I was doing something wrong. Maybe I wasn't attentive enough. I started trying even harder. I cooked her favorite meals, offered massages, tried to have heart-to-heart talks. Sarah, is everything okay? I asked one evening, as we watched a movie. She turned to me. Yes, David, what's wrong? You've been a little distant. I chose my words carefully. I'm just worried. She took my hand. Silly, everything's fine. I'm just so tired. And this project, it's draining me. She smiled. I believed her. I always believed her. I was sure we had a strong marriage, that no urgent projects or headaches could break us. I was so naive. The end of the month arrived. Time to pay the bills. I always handled that. I liked keeping our finances in order. I'd open online banking. Check our credit card statements. It was my comfort zone. I saw where our money went, and I felt calm. That evening, I sat at my desk. The statement for our joint credit card glowed on the screen. I scrolled down, checking each line. Normal spending, groceries, gas, utility bills. And then I saw it, a line that stood out from the rest. Riverton Suites Hotel, Riverton, $150. Date, May 15th, 2021. I blinked. What? Riverton? We'd never been to Riverton. It's a small town, 2 hours away. Not a tourist destination at all. And 2021, that was 3 years ago. My brain frantically searched for an explanation. A business trip, perhaps. No, Sarah never had business trips to Riverton. Maybe we stopped there on the way somewhere. I went through all our trips in my mind. Nothing that led to Riverton. My heart suddenly pounded faster. I felt cold sweat break out on my back. My hands grew slightly clammy. I stared at that line. It didn't disappear. I tried to calm down. It's some kind of mistake, I whispered to myself. The bank messed up. It happens. I decided to ask Sarah, carefully, so I wouldn't seem suspicious. She sat in the living room, reading a book. I walked over to her, trying to keep my voice steady. Inside, everything trembled. Sarah, I began, do you remember where you were on May 15th, 2021? 3 years ago? She looked up at me, frowning slightly. Her gaze was quick, like lightning. Of course I remember, she replied, closing her book. I went to see Ashley. She wasn't doing very well then. Why do you ask? Did something happen? Her voice sounded too steady, too perfect. I just saw something on an old credit card statement, I said, and my voice still wavered. There's a payment for a hotel in Riverton, exactly on May 15th, 2021. Sarah froze. The book slipped from her hands onto the couch. Her face turned a little paler. A hotel? In Riverton? She repeated, a strange note in her voice. David, that's impossible. We definitely didn't go there. It must be a bank error. You know how they sometimes mess up. She didn't look me in the eye. Her gaze darted around the room. I remembered. Ashley lived in Bloomfield. That's in another direction, nowhere near Riverton. I even bought Sarah flowers to take to Ashley. My breath caught. My head spun. I tasted something bitter. This wasn't a bank error. It wasn't my forgetfulness. This was something else. Something very bad. My faith in our foundation began to crack. I was certain I 100% trusted my wife. But just one line on a 3-year-old bank statement shattered 99% of that trust. And what I found next showed that those 3 years were a complete lie. My brain refused to believe it. It searched for any clue, any explanation, anything but the obvious truth. Sarah? My Sarah? The one I built my whole life with? It was simply impossible. I sat in the living room, staring at the statement. It now seemed like a malicious curse. A mistake. It has to be a mistake, I repeated to myself. My voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Why would the bank make this specific mistake? Why Riverton? My inner voice gave me no peace. I remembered Sarah's words. I went to see Ashley. She wasn't doing very well then. Ashley lived in Bloomfield. That's in another state. Yes, she was ill then. I remembered Sarah worrying. But Riverton, it was in a completely different direction. 2 hours drive the opposite way. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a mistake. My stomach churned. I felt cold spread through my body. Despite the warmth in the room, I closed my eyes. I tried to remember everything. Every I'll be late at work. Every business trip. Every I need to see a client. All these little things once seemed innocent. Now they formed a terrible picture. No, I whispered. She couldn't have. But the hotel and the date. And her lie about Ashley. My hands clenched into fists. I felt my nails painfully dig into my palms. I stood up, went to the window. Beyond it was our quiet yard, our home, our life, everything I cherished, and now it all hung by a thread. What if I asked her again? What if I showed her the statement? David, that's impossible. Her words echoed in my head. It must be a bank error. You know how they sometimes mess up. Her gaze darting around the room. Her wavering voice. All those details I hadn't noticed then now flooded my memory. I walked over to the table where my phone lay. Maybe call Mike? Tell him? But what would I say? My wife might be cheating because I found a 3-year-old hotel bill? It sounded foolish, paranoid. I looked at the statement again. Riverton Suites. I even Googled the hotel. A typical hotel for business trips or for rendezvous. My head was splitting. I didn't know what to do. Tell her everything right away? Make a scene? Or keep quiet? Keep quiet and pretend nothing happened? But I couldn't. That thought, like a splinter, sat deep inside. It burned, giving me no peace. I couldn't just forget about it. I couldn't live on, knowing my life might be one big lie. Trust was shattered, and I knew I had to find out the truth, no matter how bitter it was. My head buzzed. I sat in silence and my ears rang. Riverton Suites. Those 2 words spun in my head like a broken record. I tried to convince myself. Come on, David. Think logically. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe Sarah just forgot. It's just a misunderstanding, I told myself aloud. My voice sounded foreign. But she said she was going to Ashley's, my inner voice immediately countered. And Ashley lives in another direction, completely. I closed my eyes. Everything inside me turned cold. I remembered that day, May 15th, 2021. We were just starting to pay off the mortgage then. Dreamed of children. I bought Sarah flowers to take to Ashley. She left early that morning, returned late that evening, exhausted. She said Ashley had a tough day. "David, what are you imagining?" I tried to calm myself. "Sarah? Cheating? Not us. We're not like that." But then I remembered her face, how it paled when I asked about Riverton, how she averted her gaze, her too quick answer about a bank error. She didn't look me in the eye, I thought. Why? I stood and walked around the living room, the fireplace Sarah loved so much. Our big couch, where we watched movies every night, photos on the wall, our wedding, our trips, our house when we first bought it. All of it felt so real, so unbreakable. Was it all a lie? I whispered. All these years? I sat on the couch, dropped my head into my hands. My heart pounded so hard, I felt the pulse in my temples. What if it wasn't a mistake? I asked myself. What if it was true? Then everything I believed in would crumble. My family, my stability, my Sarah. "What are you going to do, David?" My inner voice sounded harsh. "Will you ask her? Make a scene?" I imagined the conversation. "Sarah, what was that hotel in Riverton?" I say. "Oh, David, it's a mistake," she replies, trying to smile. "No, it's not a mistake. You were there, and you lied about Ashley." What next? Will she start crying? Deny it? Scream? I can't, I thought. I can't now. I'm not ready. I need proof. I was scared. Scared to know the truth. Scared to destroy everything. I looked at the statement again. That one small line. It was like a needle, popping my perfect balloon. What if it was just once? I grasped at straws. A mistake. The past. People make mistakes. But it was 3 years ago, and she still hadn't said anything. This wasn't just a mistake. This was deception. Long-term. Deliberate. I felt a lump form in my throat. My breathing grew heavy. Thousands of thoughts raced through my mind. I can't just let this go, I told myself. I have to know. I can't live without knowing. That thought was like a cold shower. Horrible, but it gave me strength. Strength to act. I was scared to learn the truth. But living a lie was even scarier. That thought, like a sharp knife, cut deep inside. I couldn't just leave it alone. My brain, used to logic and problem solving, switched to a new mode, search mode. I decided no arguments. Not yet. No shouting. I couldn't just throw out an accusation. I needed facts. More facts. I had to be 100% sure. I went to the old cabinet in the study. There, in a drawer, were all our bank documents, statements, for the last 5 years. I pulled them out, a stack of papers. Each one now seemed like potential proof or a refutation. My hands were cold. My fingers felt numb. I started going through the statements, slowly, line by line, year by year. It was like debugging complex code, only the cost of an error was much higher. I started with 2021, that very May. I found that transaction, Riverton Suites Hotel, May 15th. Then, I started looking for other suspicious transactions. I looked for anything that didn't match our usual spending or her stories. It was like a cat and mouse game. Only I was the mouse, and the cat was my own life. I felt foolish. ashamed that I was digging through her things. But I couldn't stop. It was stronger than me. I found another transaction. In June 2021, the Olive Tree restaurant in the same town, Riverton. The amount was for 2 people. Sarah and I had never been to the Olive Tree, and that day, Sarah said she had a very important client meeting in the city. "What does this mean?" I whispered. My head swam. I remembered Mike once told me, "David, people often leave traces, especially when they think no one is looking." I laughed then. Now I wasn't laughing. I continued. July 2021, another expense in Riverton, a men's clothing store, a small amount. But why would Sarah buy something at a men's store in Riverton? Maybe it was a gift for me? I tried to find some excuse, but I never received any gifts from Riverton. Never. Everything inside me turned cold. I felt something breaking inside me. My perfect world was falling apart at the seams. This wasn't just one line anymore. These were links in a chain. I remembered Sarah saying, "I love you so much, David." I believed every word, but now those words seemed hollow. I sat there, surrounded by these statements. I felt utterly alone, even with Sarah in the next room. I was in my own hell. I have to keep going, I told myself. I have to know everything, every last detail. Otherwise, I simply couldn't live. I couldn't just sit there. That single line on the statement, Riverton Suites Hotel, burned a hole in my mind. I had to know. I had to figure out what was really happening. My programmer's brain kicked in. This was a problem. A huge, terrifying problem, and I had to solve it. I knew I couldn't confront Sarah yet, not without more proof. What if I was wrong? What if it really was a mistake? The thought made me sick. But if I was right, if she was lying, then everything was a lie. I returned to my study. The stack of old bank statements still lay on the desk. My hands trembled as I picked them up. This wasn't just paper. These were clues, or could be. I started again, not just May 2021. I went back further, and then forward. I looked for anything unusual, any pattern, any place names I didn't recognize, any expenses that didn't fit. It was slow work, painful. Each statement felt heavier than the last. I felt like a spy in my own home, a detective investigating his own life. The irony was bitter. I remembered something Mike said. Liars leave a trail, he told me. Small things, things they think no one will notice. But Sarah wouldn't lie, I whispered. My voice was hoarse. A whisper of doubt echoed back. Would she? I found another charge. July 2021. A small boutique. Fashion forward. In Riverton. Fashion forward? I muttered. Sarah shops online or at big malls, not small Riverton boutiques. My heart pounded. This wasn't for me. It couldn't be. I checked the date. Sarah told me she had a design conference in another city that day. No, I shook my head. This can't be true. But the numbers were real. The dates were real. The places were real. Cold dread spread through my chest. It felt like a growing knot. My vision blurred for a second. I took a deep breath. I had to keep going. I had to be strong. For myself. For the truth. I kept sifting through the papers. Months turned into years. More small charges. More hotels. Always in Riverton. Always when Sarah had important client meetings or visited a friend I didn't know. A burning anger rose in me. Not just sadness. Not just fear. Pure, hot rage. How could she? How could she do this to us? To me? For 3 years? I knew deep down this was no mistake. This was a secret life, and I would uncover all of it. The thought was terrifying, but I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. I always believed in logic. It was my salvation. But a seemingly innocent file in my wife's cloud storage, it showed me a truth. One that wouldn't set me free. Instead, it made me a hostage. My world built on facts collapsed. It opened an abyss of deceit. I couldn't just leave it. Thoughts of Sarah, Riverton, those 3 years, they haunted me. I felt a fire inside. I needed to talk, but I couldn't tell Mike everything. Not yet. It was too personal, too painful. I called Mike. "Hey, David, what's up?" he asked. "Hey, Mike, nothing's wrong." I tried to sound calm. "I just wanted to ask, what do you think is most important in a relationship?" Mike laughed. "Whoa, deep question. Did Sarah forget to take out the trash again?" No, I smiled. It felt forced. It's just, well, life. So much happens. People change. "That's true," Mike said. "I think honesty is key, and forgiveness, or at least trying." I paused, thinking about his words. Honesty. That's what I'd lost, or was losing. What if someone isn't honest? I asked. What if they lie for a long time? Mike sighed. "Oh, David, that's tougher. Depends on the lie and why. With Catherine, she lied about something small, but it bothered me. I felt like a fool. What if it's not small?" My heart tightened again. What if it's huge? Mike was silent for a long time. I heard him breathing. "David, people make mistakes," he finally said. "All of us do. But there's a difference between a mistake and intentionally deceiving someone, leading a double life." Those words hit me like a shock. A double life. That's exactly what I feared. "Do you think people can live like that?" I asked. "They can," Mike replied, "but it destroys them inside, and those around them. Imagine building a house. You think it's strong. Then you learn it was built on sand, and it's about to collapse." His words felt like a cold shower. A house on sand. That's exactly how I felt. "What should I do then?" I asked. "Try to save what you can," Mike said, "if it's worth saving. If not, then it's best to let go, no matter how much it hurts. Living a lie is the worst thing." We talked a bit more about work, about football, but my thoughts kept returning to his words. Honesty. A double life. A house on sand. I hung up. I felt a little better, but the pain remained. Mike, without knowing it, only confirmed my worst fears. I had to find the truth. For myself. To understand what my own house was built upon. After talking to Mike, I knew one thing. I couldn't just give up. I had to dig for the truth. My programmer's mind demanded logic. It demanded facts. I couldn't live on guesses. I sat down at the table again. Stacks of statements were before me. I organized them by year, then by month. My mission: find everything linked to Riverton, and anything that didn't match Sarah's stories. It was hard work. Each time I found a suspicious line, my chest tightened. I felt a chill grow inside. This wasn't just an investigation. It was an autopsy of my own life. I found another entry. October 2021. Another Riverton hotel. Another restaurant. Sarah, do you remember where you went in October 2021? I asked one evening. I tried to sound casual. We were having dinner. She looked at me. "Oh, David, that was so long ago. Probably a client in Northwood. I told you about that big project, right?" I nodded. "Yes, I remember. Northwood, not Riverton. A completely different place." My jaw tightened. I kept searching. I noticed Sarah worked late more often, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. These often matched the Riverton trips, the ones I found in the statements. I felt paranoid. I checked her computer calendar, her notes. She was always so neat. Everything always lined up, on paper, but not in the statements. One day, I looked through her old laptop. She rarely used it. She asked me to clean out old files. It was the perfect chance. I accessed her cloud storage. Work files, vacation photos, nothing unusual. Then I saw a folder named Project Riverton. My heart skipped a beat. The blood drained from my face. "Project Riverton," I whispered. "What is this?" I opened the folder. It held her design sketches, but also photos of a hotel. The Riverton Suites. I scrolled down. There were interior shots and several photos of Sarah. She was laughing. One photo was in the hotel lobby. Sarah stood next to a man, tall, dark-haired. His arm was around her waist. She was truly laughing. A happy, real smile. My legs gave out. I collapsed into a chair. My breath caught. I felt cold inside. This wasn't just suspicion. This was undeniable proof. This was the truth. My world, built on facts, shattered. This was just the beginning. I sat before the laptop, staring at the photo of Sarah and this man. Tall, dark-haired, his hand on her waist. Her laugh, real, not like the forced ones I'd gotten recently. My fingers went numb. My heart pounded in my throat. My ears rang. "Who is this?" I whispered. "Who is he?" I zoomed in on the photo. The man was a little older than us. He had a confident smile. He looked at Sarah the way I once did. With love, or what seemed like love. I checked the date on the picture. May 15th, 2021. The exact day, the exact hotel, the Riverton Suites. Everything matched. This was no bank error, no misunderstanding. This was betrayal. Long-term, calculated. 3 whole years. Heat rushed to my face. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to scream, to smash the laptop. But I sat frozen, paralyzed. Inside, I burned. Outside, I was ice. I scrolled further through the folder. There were other photos. Not many, but enough. Sarah and this man at the Olive Tree restaurant. Sarah and him walking in Riverton Park. All the places from the statements. All those business trips and client meetings. How could she? The thought drilled into my mind. How could she lie like this? I remembered all her words about honesty, about trust, about us being a team. Now those words sounded like mockery. A cruel joke. I felt so stupid, so naive. Me, David, the programmer, always trusting logic. I hadn't seen the obvious. I was blind, blinded by my own faith. I closed the laptop. I couldn't look anymore. My eyes burned. I stood and walked to the window. Night, as dark as my soul. I looked at my hand. My wedding ring was there. It felt so heavy, so alien. What now? I asked the silence. What do I do? 1,000 options raced through my mind. Tell her everything? Make a scene? Quietly pack and leave? Start a new life? But how? My whole life was with her. Our mortgage, our plans, our mutual friends, all of it built on lies. I felt something die inside me, not just disappointment. This was death. The death of my love, my trust, my faith in our family. That night was the longest of my life. I didn't sleep. I just sat, staring into the dark, feeling my world crumble. After that night, I gave myself 24 hours to decide everything. 3 years of deceit could break me, but I knew it was time to act. What I did next changed my life forever. After that night, everything changed. Something inside me broke, irreparably. I looked at Sarah. I no longer saw my wife. I saw a stranger, a deceiver. Every word, every glance, every touch felt false. Her smile, her laugh, her "I love you, David," they sounded empty now, an echo of lies. I felt betrayed, used. My heart ached, not with loss, but like a deep, festering wound. Sarah noticed, of course. "David, is something wrong?" she asked one morning. I sat at the table, drinking coffee. I didn't look at her. "Everything's fine," I replied. My voice was dry. "You're so distant," she said. She came to me, put a hand on my shoulder. Goosebumps rose on my skin. Not from warmth, from disgust. "Is it work?" "Yes," I nodded. "A tough project, lots on my mind." She stroked my back. "Don't worry so much. You're the best. You'll handle it." I struggled not to push her hand away. She called me the best, while living a different life for 3 years. Days dragged on slowly. I barely slept. I just lay next to her, feeling her breathe, and I thought, how could she do this? Who was that man? How could I have been so blind? I grew silent. At work, I dove into code, anything not to think. At home, I avoided her. I went to my study, made excuses to skip dinner. "David, you didn't eat again?" she asked one evening. "Not hungry," I replied, my eyes on the screen. "Are you on a diet?" she tried to joke, but her laugh sounded fake to me. I felt the tension between us rise. It was almost physical, like a thin, taut string, ready to snap. One evening, we sat in the living room. She watched TV. I held a book, but I wasn't reading. I watched her. Every move, every glance. "You're working so much lately," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "Need to finish a project." "I'm tired too," she sighed. "Maybe we could go away for the weekend. Relax?" I looked at her. Hope was in her eyes. Or was it pretense? I didn't know anymore. "I don't know, Sarah," I said. "I'm not up for it right now." Her face changed for a second. Sadness? Hurt? Or just surprise? "What's wrong, David?" Her voice softened. "You're scaring me." "Nothing," I shook my head. "Just tired." She didn't press, but I saw her look at me. A long, searching gaze. She felt something, but she didn't understand, or pretended not to, and that was even more painful. After I found the photos, my life became hell. I looked at Sarah, but I no longer saw my wife. I saw a stranger, a deceiver. It was unbearable. Every word, every glance now seemed fake. Her smile, her laugh, her "I love you, David," all sounded like mockery, an echo of lies. I felt betrayed, used. My heart ached, not with loss, but like a deep, festering wound. Sarah noticed, of course. "David, what's wrong?" she asked one morning. We were having breakfast. I barely ate. "Nothing," I replied. My voice was dry. I couldn't meet her eyes. "Aren't you sleeping?" She looked at me closely. "You have bags under your eyes." "Work project," I lied. It was easy. Too easy. Now I understood how it worked. "Lots on my mind. Maybe you need rest?" Her voice was full of concern, or so it seemed. I didn't know anymore. I started avoiding her. I left for work early, came home late. If she was home, I locked myself in my study, said I had urgent calls or important reports. My world shrank to those four walls. One evening, she came to my study. I was at my computer, not working, just staring at the screen. "David, we can't go on like this," she said. Her voice was quiet but firm. I turned to her. My heart pounded. This was it. Everything would come out now. "What can't we do?" I asked. "You've pulled away. You don't talk to me. What happened?" She looked straight into my eyes. I looked away. I couldn't bear her gaze. "Nothing's wrong, Sarah," I said. "I'm just tired. So very tired." "No," she moved closer. "It's not just tiredness. You've changed. Are you angry with me?" I stayed silent. What could I say? "Yes, Sarah, I'm angry because you lied for 3 years, because you slept with another man in Riverton, while I believed in our family." Those words stuck in my throat. A lump made it hard to breathe. "David, talk to me," her voice trembled. "Please." I looked at her. She seemed worried, but it wasn't the worry of someone caught lying. It was the worry that something wasn't going her way. "I need time," I said. "Just time." "Time for what?" she almost screamed. "Time to turn away from me completely." "I don't know, Sarah." I stood up. "I just don't know." I walked out of the study, left her alone. I felt terrible, but it would be worse to pretend everything was fine. My world was destroyed, and her world was starting to crumble too. She didn't know it yet, but I saw her facade beginning to crack. On Whispers, we reveal truths that change everything. If this story resonated with you, hit like and subscribe. Don't miss new revelations that make you think.